So today I decided to do another tag, so I'll have the original one linked down below. This is the More Than a Witch tag, and honestly some of these questions are gonna be real fun. So we have 11 questions, let's go ahead and jump in. Number 1, what's your name? Any stories or meanings connected to your name? So I'm slowly trying to move away from using my real name. Now granted, I do have a new last name that I have definitely never mentioned anywhere, but I decided to answer this differently simply because I don't know how much doxing we really should be doing with our real names. So instead, I'm going to explain my channel name. So this was a name that I had contemplated for a very long time, and honestly, the baseline of what this channel was going to be has somewhat changed. So initially, I love willow trees. They're one of my favorite trees. I love how they look. I love the imagery associated with them. So I wanted to include that as some part of the channel name. Next, I wanted to include something dark and spooky because I felt like I needed to have some inclusion of that aspect of myself to some degree. So eventually I picked night because, especially early in my practice, watching the full moon and looking at the night sky always just invoked this sort of awe and wonder and this longing for something that I didn't know what it was. And then I found that within the craft. And so it felt appropriate to include that. So I was like, all right, night, willow. And then crafts was gonna be the fun part. I initially had planned for this channel to be a witchcraft channel. So witchy crafts to do, spell things to make, different things for decor and whatever to have in your home as a witch. I didn't stick with that very much at all. Occasionally I'd have a video here and there that was like that, like let's make a fairy house, or let's make a paper sun thing for the summer solstice, and different little things here and there over the years. Most of them I think I've privated because it's so cringe, and also the rules of YouTube have definitely changed in the past, 12 years? Yeah, 12 years this year. So it's been a long time, and so those original videos are cringe, to say the least. And also, do not follow the rules set in place by YouTube anymore. Honestly, I feel like the crafts part of my username has still held up because I do talk about a variety of different paths and things, reading all of the books that I am. It's definitely a variety of traditions. It's not just one. So I feel like it still is applicable. And number 2, how old am I? I am 26 going on 27 this year. I know. I feel young and old simultaneously. In my mind, oftentimes when people ask how old I am, I want to answer with 27, but I'm not. I'm 26. And I think it's a thing that happens when you get older that the numbers don't mean as much to you. And that's totally the case. I don't feel 26. I feel 27, but my husband feels like he's 30 and he's not there yet either. He's going to be this year. Number 3, do you use astrology, Western or real sky? What are your big 3? I don't know what Western or real sky means. So I'm assuming-ish that it could mean, do we use the traditional meanings or are we using modern, because the stars have shifted and stuff I've heard, and that the zodiacs have shifted and changed, and I think there might be new ones or something. I don't know. I follow tradition for that one, and even then I'm not huge into astrology. I'm where I would say I'm still pretty beginner level of the runes, moving towards intermediate, and the tarot I would definitely say I'm a beginner at still. And astrology, I know the bare minimum of it. I'm trying to do better. I actually have a video planned to start researching soon, talking about the basics, because I need to have that page figured out in my book. Because if you ask me what the traits are for Sagittarius, I will look at you and be like, I don't even know the dates for that one, to be perfectly honest. And I can try and figure out the order of them, but honestly some of them I forget, and then I'm like, where did you go? What order? It's somewhere in this vague part of the year. I need to do better. So obviously I'm not great at astrology. Now I do know my big 3. My sun is the crab. I refuse to use the real name because it's associated with other stuff way more. Just like we don't use certain symbols that were used in Germany anymore. We change it. We don't use that no more. Same with that name. It's a crab. We're just crabs. Then I have the Capricorn as my rising, and I have Taurus as my moon. I don't know if that helps or hinders your understanding of my existence. Number 4, did you grow up in a religious household? What religion did that influence your current spiritual path? I grew up with atheists and like the occasional agnostic, and that's about it. Like, it felt so creepy and weird to go to like a friend's house and have to like mid-bite be like, oh, we're supposed to say grace? What the fuck is that? Like, it was not my thing. And like, I'd have to go, like, occasionally, like, I could only be friends with like my one neighbor because I lived in like the middle of nowhere. So like, you didn't have options for friends. And so like, they were super Mormon, and it was like a requirement. You had to wear a dress to go to church, and they wanted me to go to church. And I went and I was like, this is some serious bullshit. Like, why the fuck do I have to wear a dress? I am the wild child. I am out there in the woods, hiking, rolling around in the dirt, like exploring in the sagebrush. Like, that's what I'm off doing. Dresses are completely stupid for that plan because it snags on everything. Then you have to worry about the breeze, and it's stupid. Give me jeans. And then you just got to sit in a room and color pictures of different stories from the Bible, and I didn't know what the Bible really was. I had like a very vague idea, and I also thought it was really stupid. So, I mean, it probably influenced me to some degree, because like, growing up non-religious and then deciding to become religious leaves you with an analytical brain constantly, so that whenever I start to question things, I'm like, you know what? Placebo effect. Does it matter in the long term? Really? Does it? No. If you're not hurting anyone and it makes you happy and it makes you feel like life you have some control over, and again, not hurting anybody, it's fine. If I want to believe that putting crystals in my pillowcase is going to make me sleep better, it literally doesn't affect anybody else, so it's fine. Number 5, what are you manifesting for your future? Currently, I'm working specifically on my books. I want to do better on book sales, and so if you want to buy my books, you could. I just hit the end for my 3rd novel, and then I'm gonna move into standalone novels going forward. So that's what I'm leaning towards. I do have the small inclination to write some witchy books. I'm not feeling it for writing the death book in the springtime. I'm feeling like I gotta wait till it's like a little bit later and like closer to when like death imagery is around, just because it's like, I don't want to focus on that right now. It's really freaking depressing. And writing about death is extremely depressing, and that book is going to take a little bit of time because I do want to handle it really well. So we'll get there eventually. I have toyed with the idea of writing my own beginner witchy books and like a guide to how to be a witch on my perspective. I don't know. The imposter syndrome kicks in too hard, so we're focusing on fiction right now. Number 6, do you have a favorite season? What time of the year makes you feel most authentically you? Aesthetically, I love on autumn and like Halloween and falling leaves, and it's glorious and wonderful. But realistically, my absolute favorite time when I just feel like the height of my power, the time that I feel the most alive and most happy and everything is wonderful and great in the world, is in the summertime when I can have my lizard time, and it's just you walk outside and the sun just bakes your soul. And like the sun rises at like 6 in the morning and the birds are constantly chirping, and the middle of the day you can just go and sit under a tree and have it shade you from the heat, and like you stick your foot out into the sun, and then like within like 5 seconds your foot's on fire. Like, that is my prime time. I love my lizard time, sitting in the sun and just enjoying existing. But like aesthetically, I love Halloween. But also Halloween hits the shelves in like July and August, so I mean, it's still really like summertime, but like with spooky on top of it. Number 7, do you have a favorite color? Do you feel this is your aura color? If not, what color do you think your aura is? I don't like to say I have favorites of anything because I don't. My color I tend to gravitate towards is black. And I would say my aura is that color, kind of, but I also use that as a protective color, so I feel like those two are kind of tied together. Number 8, do you have a job, career, lifestyle that makes money or helps support you and or your family, oh my god, this sentence is a nightmare. Do you have a job, career, lifestyle that makes money or helps support you and or your family in any way? What do you do? That was a mouthful. I do this full time. I run 2 YouTube channels. I recommend you sub to both. So I do the Witchy channel, because of the witchy channel, I have a Patreon. Hello, thank you y'all for supporting me over there. So if you want to support me, I have different tiers. Basically, the entry tier is a thank you tier. If you just want to support me with a little bit of money, that's cool. If you want more additional content, different tiers, more money, you're supporting my existence and getting stuff in return. If you want to just do a one-time thing, I have books. I will say they're probably not New York Times #1 bestsellers. Are they the worst though? No. Check out Book Talk to find out how horrible some books are. I'm sitting happily in the medium level of like, it's not the best thing written, definitely not the worst thing though. So if you want to support me that way, I have books. I'm working on witchy books. But basically all of this is my full-time job. So subscribe, like, interact so that it boosts the algorithm. And the algorithm gods that be will bless me with more views and reach more people so that one day I can hit the monetize button. We're getting there. I see it creeping every day. I watch that bar every single day. And I'm like, one day, we're getting there. Because we started off really small. We've made huge progress in the past, like, whatever months it was since June. Just not there quite yet, but I have sold a book. That's amazing. I haven't sold a book in years, so, like, we're getting there. So yeah, if you want to support me, basically buy my books, subscribe to my channels, watch, like, all of the stuff, comment. And then if you want to support even further, I do have a Patreon with different tiers to suit your needs. What are some things that make you unique and an individual? I would love to think that I'm an individual and also normal simultaneously, but I really don't fit either of those categories. I think I'm unique in that there is nobody like me out there, really. And I don't know how to describe that. I feel like that's just like the hardest question. Like, how are you unique? How am I the same? Like, how is anybody the same? Normal exists but also doesn't simultaneously, and especially, like, who you surround yourself with. Like, that's too hard of a question. It needs to be more specific. Number 10, what advice would you give your younger self? Ironically, just be you and be friendly. Other than that, just deal with it, because like there's so many things that have happened over the years, again, like the bleeding disorder thing, like there's a lot of it that definitely caused like some trauma that like you still have to work through, that like as an adult is starting to surface, that you're like, oh, that's fun. But also like I was not like friendly in like high school, and like middle school is when I started to withdraw because like I didn't fit in and like I got tired of trying, but also I didn't really want to be like my true authentic self either, because I wanted to fit in like everybody else. And at this point, I'm just take it or leave it. I don't care. Like, I think that just happens with maturing, and I don't know that you could change that for your younger self, but because everyone has said that and everyone doesn't listen until you hit a certain age. Like, let's just be real. Like, everyone says, be yourself. And then you're like, no, I want to fit in with my peers. And then you get old and you're like, my peers were not worth trying to fit into. Good Lord. Like, you see how they grow up and what they become. And you're like, you know what? Like, probably not my thing. We don't mix and mingle well. Number 11, favorite interests, hobbies, or activities outside of witchcraft. So my husband has slowly turned me into a nerd. For example, I am currently playing through a Pokemon game, Hogwarts Legacy. I'm wanting to reboot up the original Luigi's Mansion to play through it again because I love that game so much. I also need to check on my town in Animal Crossing because I have abandoned it for like probably a year at this point. But like we also will often play Mario Kart and like Mario Party, and like super stoked to go to the Universal both parks to see the like new land that they just built. I also like reading, but it's becoming less of a hobby and more of a job. But I like what I do. I don't mind working every single day of the week. Like, I have started to put a slight limitation of like I need to have Sundays for like slightly less work. But that's like the weekends are for like reading my fiction books instead of the witchy books, which I read all week. And so, but even then, like, this is what I want to do with my life. Eventually, I would love to have like a little more free time and also like money. So we'll see what the future holds. But for now, like, that's what takes up 99.9% of my existence. If I'm not being a nerd with my husband, I am reading. I'm reading fiction, I'm reading witchy books, and now I am revising my novel. So that is all that I do. So anyways, that is this tag. I would love to hear your answers either in the comments or as a video response. I think these are really fun, even if they're old tags, to go through and do them again. Huge thank you to my patrons. I will have their names here on the screen. If you'd like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like and subscribe. I post every single day, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.